he'd pee his pants within the first minute of being in front of me or Scott, for sure, alone in a room. Like, he'd pee his pants. Within 30 minutes, it'd be over. Like, it'd be over. And the 30 minutes would be, like, so much fun. It would take 30 minutes to have that much fun. So guys like Marco are guys like Marco. You know, you see them, they're the little peons. They don't know what they're doing. You know, they trash talk. They're keyboard warriors. But you get them in front of a room with somebody that knows how to handle themselves, and Marco would be, he'd be dead meat. If he was in front of me, he'd have a pee stain on his pants within the first 30 seconds, maybe a minute. I might be underestimating. I'll give him 2 minutes. Be that or he'd piss his pants for sure.
If it ever does happen, I hope that it's on camera. And
I will tell you, if it's on camera, it will be because of him doing it on camera. So The reality is, but here's the other thing. But David, I just got to tell you, besides the conversation we're having right here, he's not worth any time. He's got no audience. Anybody that would listen to this guy previously, he's got nothing. He's a few hundred people that may watch him that are themselves, the majority of them worthless. I mean, they're just like, they're chat warriors. They're little peons.
Yeah.
They're snipers. They say stupid shit. And that's the reality behind them. And unfortunately, they think they have a voice, but, that's what makes the Internet the Internet.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I would say that of course, if you tune into one of his live streams, he might only have, a maximum of 400 people listening at a time. But, people cycle through. I would imagine that of his 88,000, I think they're real. I know you guys don't think they're real. I think that he has a lot of people that subscribe for maybe his stand-up comedy, or maybe they subscribe for his music videos back in the day, or maybe they subscribe just because they wanted to watch that one WFG video, and now they, that's all they were there for. They subscribed, and now they just never watch. But anyway, regardless, he probably does only have about 1,000. At maximum, I imagine there's 1,000 people clicking through on the video on each live stream. So it's only 1/88 of what his subscriber count shows.
And some of them, he does serve a function. For the other people that are probably mentally ill and they need friends, Marco's their friend. So the good thing is that Marco is keeping these people at bay. I mean, he's just like he's babysitting people that need a friend. So I don't want to be that cruel to people that are mentally ill, but they're probably socially, retarded. They're probably a little bit slow. They probably, are the types of people, and I'm not bashing these types of people. Maybe they were born that way. But the reality is that's Marco's crowd. Now I have a question for you. What would you do in a similar situation? So let's flip the table and reverse the roles. Would you be concerned about Marco or his goons or anybody else in his listening audience?
Sure. Yes. I mean, I think that Marco has a ton of balls. I think if you look at like his WFG Part 4 video where he went to that ice skating event and directly confronted people that he strongly suspects either took down videos of his, or like the gentleman who he goes to his gym that he ended up trying to lie and say that Marco said all these mean things to him, and then he had to like go to the gym manager. I think that a lot of what Marco does is for the content, but I don't deny. I think he is a smart guy. I hate to say it, Glenn. I'm sorry. And I guess, I don't know if you guys classify me as a goon. It's funny. People tell me I'm socially retarded all the time. So, you know what? I'll take that one. I am definitely socially retarded. But as far as stupid, I mean, anyone who talks about IQ normally doesn't have anything to flaunt. But it's 130. So, I mean, you could call me stupid or not. I've definitely made some stupid decisions in my life. Here's what I think. I think that Marco, he's in the business of making content, right? I mean, that's what he does. He makes content. I mean, I hate to say it, but you guys are good content, regardless if he's ever going to do something.
His channel and his donations die when he's not talking about us. He's got no other real content. He's meet my let guy meet Zig Ziglar. I mean, listen where this guy is struggling for content. He's got no content if it's not for Peter Mingils and Scott Johnson.
And let's admit it, Peter. Peter, you're an entertaining guy too, right? I mean, I personally like the way you talk. I mean, and let's be real, you just said some pretty messed up shit about Marco and his followers, which even if it's not true, it's fucking funny to listen to, right? So, you know, it's just like the Hamas comment last week, dude, that shit is funny. That shit is funny regardless, right? So as far as I'm concerned, can you blame Marco for wanting to talk about it? It's funny. So, but I think the fact that you guys are obvious, I mean, you guys are anti-MLM when done wrong, pro-MLM when done right. He would be in the category of just anti-MLM altogether. So you guys are probably united on more than you're actually against, but I think that the lore has built up to a point where you guys almost have to hate each other. Would that be fair to say?
Scott, I'll let you, I don't want to hog this part of the conversation. There's lines that are crossed. You could trash talk, and then you could cross a line. Marco's crossed too many lines. So, so Marco's crossed too many lines.
The main line he crossed for me is when he was talking about being a cocaine dealer. I will not associate with that type of a person. So it's over. You know, as far as him being on the show, it's over. I just don't associate with that kind of a character. Now, he's done many, many other things. He's bragged about stealing from all kinds of different companies, and just flat out lying. In fact, he's even said on his own show, I'm a very good liar. So, you know, why would you want to associate with someone who brags about stealing from companies, being a cocaine dealer, lying? I mean, what's to be gained from associating with somebody like that? There's nothing, and he doesn't bring anything unique to the table. He's just echoing all of the other anti-MLM Huns out there that are just as clueless. They just don't do the real stupid things that he's done. So, you know, that's where I come from. I don't hate him as a person. I hate what he's done. But, you know, it's up to me who I want to associate with. And I don't want to associate with him.
And just to use as an example relative to the lying things. Yeah, just to use an example relative to the lying things. He's like, lying is bad. When he's talking to, I forget which debate he was doing. I think he was doing a debate with Dominic. He's like, lying is bad. Lying is bad. Lying is bad. Lying is bad. And yet, you know, next video, he's just as bad as, I hate to say it, Eric Worre. Because if you ever watch Eric Worre, you say, wait a minute, on this video you said this. On this video you said exactly the opposite. So, Marco, when you're talking to Dominic, and Dominic is saying something, he's like, lying is bad. Lying is bad. And then you go on the other one, he's like, I'm a really great liar. So you realize the guy's just mentally confused. He's mentally deranged where he cannot see that separation, and that's why he says he has a mental illness. Now, he's not retarded, and that's why I said he's got a highly functioning mental illness, because he's a quick thinker. Even what he said about me and Robert Fitzpatrick, he made shit up as he went along when he listened to Robert Fitzpatrick's words. He made shit up as he goes along. The guy's like, holy shit, Marco, you can't even tell the truth. Like, you are a pathological liar. Like, I know people that are pathological liars, and I've lived with them. I've worked with them, and I can identify them. This guy's a pathological liar. So that's one of the reasons why there's very smart pathological liars. And when you say smart, like highly functioning, they're good at being a pathological liar. But that's Marco. So back to, you know, not to distract, but I just wanted to point out some things that Scott referenced, and just to kind of give some people some specific examples. Watch his videos, and then you'll see what he's talking about. And like, for instance, even this move. I bet you, I don't care, because like this move that he's making, he's either got no money because his donations are down, or he's scared for shit because somebody at that WFG thing that was sitting there watching them in the attendance that didn't say anything found out where he lived and is probably going to beat the shit out of him, or worse. So if any or all of those things are happening, I don't know if he's moving. Like, the reality is, he could be thinking that he's outsmarting everybody else. He's not moving. He's going to stay exactly where he is. He's going to do enough of these videos. He'll change his little background. He'll make up some stories because he's a pathological liar. No one knows anything about Marco. And the reality is, if he's going to be fleeing the country, yeah, right, I'm sure he's fleeing the country. Where are you going to go? Where are you going to go? What are you going to do? How are you going to provide for yourself? I mean, it's just a waste of time. So anyway, back to whatever else you wanted to bring up.
Sure. So let's tie that all together. We're coming into the last 30 minutes here. So I want to tie in what you just said. So you're talking about how, is he really leaving the country or not? Scott, you had mentioned that you don't feel that he brings anything new to the table, that the anti-MLM Huns, as you say, do. Now, the one thing that I think is a key factor that kind of brings these two things together is the fact that there is something unique that he does bring to the table, and that is MLM infiltrations. Him doing the exposés like he's done for WFG, ACN, and most recently Primerica, which then ties into what you were just talking about, Peter, the fact that he's getting sued for it, right? And clearly he has, even though he's never been sued by WFG, he clearly has beef with them, right? The guy at his gym that tried to lie about him assaulting him or whatever else, right? And for those reasons, that's why he's, in your opinion, quote-unquote moving, but maybe not actually moving, right? So that's an interesting point that I've thought about, and I wanted to ask both of you the question. Let's start with Scott, since you haven't had a chance to talk too much. Scott, do you think that Marco's take on I Am Academy and Primerica was wrong? Let's start.
Do
you think he's being wrongfully sued?
No, I don't think he's being wrongfully sued because he did the infiltration stuff, which is fine, but then he goes overboard and makes all kinds of claims, and that's the basis for the lawsuit, or lawsuits, I should say. He's just always stupid. He goes too far, and he gets sued. And he's got, I think, at least 2, maybe 3 lawsuits right now. And the guy doesn't make much money. And he thinks that he's going to get away with it because he doesn't have much money. And I don't know what the laws are in Canada, but in the United States, if you're sued in civil court and you lose, they can garnish future wages. And so, you know, he thinks he's free and clear, but I don't think he is.
Peter?
Well, we call him always stupid Marco for a reason. So if you watch, echoing what Scott said, if you're trying to identify some bad practices, there's right ways and there's wrong ways to do it. And if you watch the Primerica video and then his video after the Primerica video, he said some pretty damning things that were threats to people that were Primerica, like, I'll make sure that you're going to lose your business and this is the last thing you'll ever do. And he said the same thing about some other people as well. He's made some real personal threats against some other people, which is, okay, that's always stupid, Marco. Can't be doing that. So that's what he's done. And the reality is that put it this way, when he announced at the beginning of the year that this is what he was doing, I'm like, this guy doesn't understand that he is putting a bullseye on himself. He's self-inflicting his own demise. He doesn't know how to do it the right way. He's going to go out there and do things the wrong way, get his ass sued, be run out of town, and these are the things that we predicted. And for those people that are wondering, I predicted it. I just said, I don't have to do anything to Marco. Repeating, I don't have to do anything to Marco. Marco is going to do everything to himself, and that's what we're watching. And his game plan is so ill-advised. So it's designed to fail. His infiltration thing is designed to fail. He doesn't have what it takes to be able to do it. His way he does his videos, designed for failing. The people he associates with, designed for failing. And I hope he's successful to the degree that someone would be successful here, which translates into you're destroying your financial future and your reputation because your name's out there, pal. And unfortunately, it doesn't go away on the internet. So you are destroying any possibilities of future growth legitimately. I mean, you're pigeonholed. You're cementing yourself into some place you're not going to be able to get out of at 27 or 28 years old. And I'm enjoying the process. So having said that, always stupid Marco. Now, if you said,
David,
you feel bad
David,
for
have
him?
David, have you seen the Rumble video where we talked about being a cocaine dealer?
I have not. I know I've listened to you guys reference it multiple times.
Well, if you go to rumble.com, there's a user on there called TexTex, TEXTEX, all one word, and it's a 2.5-hour video, and he talks about being a cocaine dealer along with his buddy Philip and a bunch of other stupid stuff in that video. And if you watch that video, and I say that's why I don't want to associate with the guy, I think it becomes pretty obvious.
Yeah. No, and Scott, I don't, I mean, drugs have ruined, you guys, we had a conversation just before I got on the show about how I have an identical twin, and his life has been ruined through cocaine and meth. I mean, absolutely ruined. And if I had a chance to meet the guy that's been selling him all this shit for the last 5 years, I wouldn't want anything to do with him either. Let's just put it that way. So I totally understand that perspective and why you wouldn't want to associate with him because of the drugs. Now, I also do think that when you're young, and I mean, I'm from his same generation. Me and Marco are almost the same age. I can tell you that there's nothing, almost every person in our generation wanted to be two things when they grew up, either an astronaut or a YouTuber. I mean, that was the dream, right? So I don't put it past someone when they're 19 or 20 to go online and admit some things they probably shouldn't have admitted in hopes that they would get clout. Now, does that make it right? No. But at the same time, when you put all your cards on the table, it's really easy for people to hate you for something. So, I mean, I've grown up my whole entire life being a very talkative, outspoken person, and I'll tell you what, I've been not liked by most people. I was bullied all the way through high school because when someone doesn't talk, the only thing you can not like about them is that they're not talking. But if they talk all the time, you can very quickly find something that you don't like. Again, though, not taking away the fact that you don't want to be associated with a cocaine dealer. Again, I would punch the teeth out of the guy that keeps selling my brother meth. So I feel you on that for sure. So, but now, real quickly though, I want to go ahead, Peter.
To use one example, it may be either you heard it or didn't hear it, but one of Marco's guests, Scott, I think her name was Eliza. I'm not sure. Had a problem with drugs, and we had her on our radio show, and we had an interesting conversation about drugs and issues. Because for those people that are unfamiliar with my son, he had a problem with drugs as well. So, we can have constructive conversations about the real challenges associated with drugs. And then she goes back and kind of slams us on Marco's channel after we're done. I have no idea why. But then Marco starts making all these stupid comments about me as a dad, which doesn't mean anything because you got to remember the source coming from Marco. It just tells you his level of intellect and the idea of what's happening with drugs in this society. And I don't know anything about your brother, but your brother was a victim of the drug challenges that many people were associated with. And to think that someone could sell drugs and not understand the ramifications of whatever they might have done, either directly or indirectly, and make a statement of, oh, well, if he didn't buy them from me, he would have bought them from someone else, just really tells you the level of mental illness. Because if you're that smart and you say things like that, you're mentally ill. Like you are mentally ill. There's something wrong with you by saying the things that you say without addressing the situations the way we're addressing the situations. And that's why you can't have Marco on a show. He's too stupid to be able to have on a show. You can't have an intellectual conversation with somebody who's mentally not right. So back to whatever else you want to mention next. And we have about 24 total minutes left.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think that, kind of goes in, there's a lot of things in life, like people who will tell you, oh, well, it didn't affect me, so it doesn't matter. Well, all of our actions affect everybody, right? So if that's your mindset, I can already tell that you're only thinking on one level, right? You're only thinking about what you can see, touch, hear, and smell, right? You're not thinking about the impact that might ripple through the multiple layers. So the statement on its own, if I didn't sell to someone, then someone else would have, technically, yes. Maybe if you're only looking at that sliver of time. But, of course, if no one sold any drugs, then no one would be on drugs. But there's supply and demand conversations there. I mean, that conversation could go forever. Back to the lawsuit part, though. Do you guys think that – so you guys think that the lawsuits are legitimate because Marco maybe got too personal in the videos, made too many direct threats, that sort of thing? But, like, let's go a step further then. What's your opinion on IM Academy? Do you guys think that IM Academy is MLM done right?
I don't know. I haven't seen data to make a judgment. There's definitely troubling things that all MLMs say, but I boil it down to tool scams and retail sales. And now, if you're doing those things right, that doesn't make the business perfect, but there's no business that's perfect because businesses are run by people and no person is perfect. So, it's one of those things where if you don't fix the big things, talking about all the little things to me is a waste of time, because you could fix every little thing you want to fix. But if you still have lack of retail sales and tool scams, very little will really change overall. You got to fix those big rocks and focus on those two things. All the other stuff is to me, it's a distraction, and it's distracting from the big problems. And that's why I stay focused on those two things. It's not that I deny these things exist. They do. All these statements about you got to go out and recruit a bunch of people. Okay, that's interesting to talk about. But the question is, do they have retail sales? Yes or no? And that's the question that has to be answered, rather than all these little things that are being said. And you say, oh, I got you. You said that thing, so I got you. Well, maybe you do. But until you get the information about retail sales and tool scams, all you're doing is conjecture.
Right. Peter, did you have anything to add to that?
Sure. On IM Academy, lots of the times I look at the leaders and how they're promoted, and that can usually tell you what's probably behind the scenes. And when you're dealing with investment strategies, money-making ideas, stuff like that, you usually need a more sophisticated audience, and MLMers are not a more sophisticated audience. So that means that most people that are going to probably be getting involved are going to lose, and they're going to lose a lot. And most of the money in IM Academy has to be made probably by recruiting, unless you're actually using the product and using investment strategies. So having said what I just said, most MLMers not good at investment strategies, so therefore they're probably going to lose money on their investments. And some of them, there's things in MLM I call the triple Gs: goofy, gullible, and greedy. MLMers are really good at going all in based on no due diligence. So I just don't like those kinds, and this is personal taste. I don't like those kinds of things because sometimes they attract